Hello, in the new video of Dynasty 1. Today we're going to talk about upgrading skill. And today's hero is Crescent Yuanrang. So he's the newest 777 Amulet hero. And recently, this is the second time he showed up on the God of War event. Well, I guess he showed up every time, but this is the second time that we, the players, have the chance to get him. So I assume way more people will have gotten him already. I still wouldn't say he is the strongest. It seems like a lot of people still favors a lady over him. The reason is because he started out very weak, and there is a couple buff to him and his skills, so that makes him even better. And I think he is alright right now, but I wouldn't mind a little upgrade to him for the future as well. But let's talk about his main skill, Crescent Slash. Okay, it has a cooldown of 13 seconds. It does 12 attack to I think if you are on offense, it always attack hero first if they're in range, and if it's on defense, it says unleash 12 rates of blades to nearby enemies. So on defense, he will not always prioritize hero. I believe that's the case, because I experienced that when I attack people, but I never use him to attack, obviously, because I don't have him. And each attack does 800 damage, and also reduce 1 second of opponent's rate. So it is very useful on offense because you do a lot of damage as well as decreasing the enemy's rage. Now, if they don't have the last stand attribute from their hero seal, they will never be able to use their skill again, because this takes away 12 seconds in total, and it only takes 13 seconds for him to use his skill again. And I mean, after the 12 attack, that is close to 10,000 damage. Most hero will die if they take all the damage by themselves. So this is quite a lot of them. It's very similar to Zhang Liao's skill in terms of attacking, doing high damage to one target. You can argue that Crescent's damage is not that high because it doesn't stack. Zhang Liao's skill stack every time you attack, you increase by 10%. But let's look at the Awakening skill, because Awakening skill is a very interesting Awakening skill. I don't really like his Awakening skill because it doesn't make his skill stronger by a lot. Well, in the beginning, it doesn't make his skill stronger at all. Now it does, because it attacks an additional target for 30% of the damage. So I imagine this is similar to Zhao Yun's Awakening skill, where it does a splash damage to multiple targets, but his only splash to one extra target, and it only does 30% damage. And as you can see, his original damage is only 800, so the 30% is around 200-ish. But it's still an extra damage for 12 attack. That could be another 3000 damage, which is very useful. Now, however, the main thing from his Awakening skill is actually the shield. That will last 13 seconds, so it will last the complete duration until he uses next skill if the shield does not get depleted. So what is that shield? How much HP does that shield have? That shield has 30% of his maximum HP. So you actually want to have more HP for this sword hero, which is rare because most sword hero you really just want to focus on the DPS instead of the HP. So this gives him more tankiness instead of more killing and fighting power, which is an odd thing for a sword hero. I mean, Guan Yu has a very high defensive Awakening skill as well, and I mean, it's extremely powerful Awakening skill in terms of defensive. Now he has another defensive Awakening skill. Maybe he could have a more offensive, and that will make him even better. But who knows? I haven't really used him yet. But let's take a look at the numbers. So right here I listed the damage of each attack and the total after 12 attacks. So what is the total damage from his skill? So a 10 out of 10, each strike does 673 damage. So after the 12 hits, it's 8076. So if he attacked the same target for 12 times, he will deal 8000 damage to that one target. Now at 15 of 15, each wave is 842. So if he attacked one single target, that will be 10,000 damage. A lot. Now we talk about the Awakening skill, which is 30% additional damage to a different target. So 30% of 600 is 200, and after the 12 attack, that will be 2400 extra damage. Now you may be thinking, well, at 10 out of 10, he doesn't have an awakening skill. Well, if you awaken him and leave it at 10 out of 15, this damage is pretty much the same. Although you can get the 10 extra level, and you can probably get it up to 700. I don't know, 720, 740, whatever. Okay, you can get some extra damage from the 10 extra level, and then the 5 extra skill, you can also get some damage. So you would have some at least some extra damage once you awaken him. However, these extra damage will not be dealt to the same target for sure. It will be 600 to one target and then 200 to a different target. However, at 15 out of 15, you see the increase is not that much because it's only 30% of this increase. So at that point, each additional attack from the awakening skill is 250 damage, and in total that would be only 3000 damage. It's still a lot. I mean, this is 30% of this. And this is 30% of this. So should you upgrade this skill? I think you should. In fact, but should you do it before or after the awakening skill? We will talk about that, because in here you get half of it from the 10 extra level already. So it might be, as I said, it should be around 700 damage per wave. It's still a significant increase because you'll be doing 12 of them. So let's say if you get an let's see how much is this, the difference is 170. So let's say you get 80 extra damage, so you'll be at 750. So 80 extra damage times 12, that's another close to 1000 extra damage from all the hits. So although each wave of attack is small, the increase is small, but after 12 times, the damage adds up. So you do need to upgrade this, not as soon as possible. It's not like very important, because we're gonna look at the awakening skill. So the awakening skill is the only well, this is part of the awakening skill, but it's always 30%. The extra target is always 30% of the main skill. The other part of the awakening skill is the shield. The shield will scale, is the only thing that scales with the awakening level. The 30% from here actually stays at 30%. The 30% from the damage stays there. The 30% of the shield will change depending on the level. So the shield actually starts at 10% of your HP, and then at 5 out of 5 it goes up to 30% of your HP. So how much HP does Crescent has? He has 6650 HP, so 10% will be 665, and then 30% will be close to 2000 HP, which is very good. I mean, 600 something is not a lot. This probably doesn't do much, but 2000 extra HP can be very efficient and effective when you're trying to finish the battle and clear out everything, because at the end you might have a couple structures doing a couple hundred damage per second to you, and this might help you last a long time compared to maybe a hero with 20% HP as shield. You can probably last one hit from a hero, so that's another good thing, obviously. And the difference between the awakening skill and his main skill, whether you should upgrade or not, is the difference is you get more tankiness, you get more survivability, and that is his, or like the purpose of his awakening skill is to give you more survivability. So you should upgrade this first before you upgrade the damage, because the damage, although it's small, it's still significant. But if you can last longer, you can use a skill more times, because his skill is a passive skill. So for passive hero, you want him to last as long as possible. You want him to last forever until the battle finishes, because the longer he survives, the more damage he can do from his skill. I mean, this analysis is similar to Guan Yu's, because if you remember Guan Yu, I think in that video I said you should upgrade his awakening skill first, because 80% damage mitigation is extremely powerful. He could survive longer, he could make sure that he finishes skill and tank. Same thing here. You want 30% extra HP, because this is renewable HP, right? Every 13 seconds he's gonna have this HP as shield when he uses skill. So you want to upgrade his awakening skill first, and then you do the damage. Now we're gonna talk about treasure and hero seal as well, because as a sword hero, you can take advantage of these things, and you need them actually, because sword hero tends to be very weak, just because they're melee and they don't have a lot of HP. So this is Crescent's base stat, 6,650 HP. I don't know if he has the most. Yes, he has the most HP in terms of sword hero. He also has the most DPS in terms of sword hero as well. So that means he has the most DPS in the whole game. So for treasure for sword hero, all sword hero needs a lot of treasure. You probably need 2 golden treasure for sword hero to be able to satisfy everything. And I'll talk about a couple of the main things. So obviously maximum HP, you need that 25%. It goes from 6,650 to 8,312. DPS 25%, so you go from 751 to 938. You need this because although his skill is very powerful, but you would require him to actually auto attack and do damage as well. Now the other thing is healing. What is this healing? This is the skill that heals your sword hero when they first reaches 1 HP. So right before they die, they recover 50% HP. That's the highest you can get. It's 50%. So that will be 4,000 if you have 8,000 HP. And this is a star attribute. So you need 1 treasure to get that. Now the other thing is the maximum attack speed, 25%. Basically buff your DPS even higher. It goes from 938 to 1173. So these two will work together to get 751 to 1100 as in terms of DPS. Now, lifesteal is another star attribute. That's why you need at least 2 treasure. I mean, you can see there is I listed 6 things here already. I mean, there's more you can actually get that you want. Now, lifesteal you can get up to 20%. Then that's 20% of your DPS as HP. So his DPS is this, 1100. So every hit, every auto attack he does, he will recover 200 HP. It's not a lot, but when he has a buffer, when he has a shield to tank, during that shield, every hit that he does is extra HP that he can regain completely, because he is not taking damage at all during that shield time. So the next thing is obviously rage. You also want the rage of 10 seconds because he can use his skill earlier. This is probably more useful on offense. Defense is not as important unless you are, well, yes, defense is not as important. On offense, it's more important when you start the battle, or maybe you are going to revive him. Then he has 10 seconds and he needs 3 seconds to use his skill. So another thing you can think about is with the new transcending skill for Diao Chan, which gives you 3-second rage. In conjunction with this, he can use Crescent can use his skill immediately if you have this combination. Once you revive him, immediately use his skill. That could be extremely powerful, obviously. Now, what is another treasure attribute that you want? Now, on defense, you might want to spawn 10 warriors just to slow down your enemy and do some damage. On offense, it's not extremely necessary, but it's also very good. Sometimes my warriors help me get the headquarters as well. So that's another thing, but I won't say that one is necessary. These 6 are pretty much necessary for a good sword hero. And as you can see, if you have 2 treasure, you can get these. You can't even guarantee your 7th one if you have only 2 treasure, because this is a star attribute. You 1 treasure for 1 star attribute, and then you can lock 2 attribute and try to get the 3rd one. So maybe you get this, and then you get this, and you lock these to get your 3rd one. So it's very high requirement to get a very good sword hero. So that's another thing to consider, because hero seal. Obviously, the most obvious one is the damage. The damage 30%. Then you can get go from 10,000 to 13,000. 30% increase is about 200-ish. Well, basically, each hit will do over 1,000, just a little bit over 1,000 damage, and close to 1,100 damage per hit. And then the extra 30% will be around, let's see, around 300-ish. Yeah, 300, more than 300, because after the 12 hit, it will be close to 4,000 damage. I mean, I just calculate these from here, so that's the difference. Increase. It's still a lot of damage. If you look at it this way, it is doing close to more than 17,000 damage. No other hero, sword hero, can do that, especially if they're passive every time they do this. Now, Guan Yu can't even do this damage. I mean, Guan Yu's base skill is this much. It's 10,200, something like that. With the 30%, it's 13,000, just like this. But Crescent can do additional damage. Obviously, Lu Bu does the most total damage, but again, those are active skills. Guan Yu's active skill. If Crescent can use his skill 2-3 times, that's more damage than anyone can do in the whole game. So this is a very good one. It might not seem as useful in the beginning because it's only 30%. This is only 800. It's not like a lot, but you have to consider that it's doing 12 times, and it's 12 times every 13 seconds. Now the next thing is Rage. Again, this is very powerful. This is get 10 seconds of Rage when your HP drops below 20%. So once he drops his HP drops below 20%, assuming he has already at least 3 seconds of Rage, then he can get his skill immediately, right? Once he gets his skill immediately, he gets 30%. So basically, he gets another 30% recovery when he's about to die. That's what it is. So before he even uses 50%, once the first time he gets his HP get to 20%, he will use his skill and get 30% back as a shield, obviously. And if he will be able to last the 13 seconds, he will get the shield again. So he will always be at 50% at least. Now, if the 30% get depleted, well, that's 30% well used. And then he will go back to 20%. And then after that, after the first time he reaches 1 HP, he will regain 50%. So again, what that means is he is very tanky as a sword hero. In terms of his ability to keep making shield to give himself HP, because obviously any sword hero can get this 50%, and any sword hero can get more HP, right? I mean, these two number is not the highest. Obviously, I didn't include hero seal into the HP and DPS, so the maximum DPS in here can get even higher, obviously with hero seal. So these two are very good, either on offense or defense. There are some other ones that are pretty good as well. Maybe the cold attribute for the one that slows your attacker's attack speed. That could be very useful on defense because, again, he's very tanky. He could be very tanky. You can use him as a shield hero on defense and decrease the enemy's rage and try to pick off their enemy unit, just like Zhang Liao. Well, Zhang Liao is good on defense. It's exactly the same thing why Crescent can be good on defense as well. But I think this is it for this video, and unfortunately I was not able to get him in this God of 12 event. Hopefully you guys did, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.